We had added 3 players that I know are going to help our team get better. They're going to improve our team in the playmaking. They're going to improve our team in the locker room and the culture that we're trying to build. So anytime you kind of hit that trifecta of these players improving different areas of your organization, you're excited about that. So, with Kyler at 38, 39, that was a guy, when I told everyone we ran those simulations, that was a guy that popped up a few times, and we kind of laughed it off. And it was like, there's no way. And there was actually one time we ran it through, he was there, and we just said, just ignore him. Just act like it's not there. So when it actually happened, it was a really cool moment, and we're excited about adding a guy that I believe is going to be a starting caliber corner. He's going to compete for that position. The great thing about him is his movement skills are outstanding. He's tough, what we call reactive athleticism, twitchy. He's going to help us in coverage big time and make that whole defense even better. The other thing you love about him is just the instincts. He's got great feel for the game. There's been a lot of good players coming out of Washington, especially in that secondary, so we're pumped about that. And I know one of the cool things about him, people talk about him doing, the ballet thing, and I don't know if anyone mentioned he also was big into Kung Fu as well. So really cool, unique kid, and we're excited to add him. And then later we ended up with Jaquan Brisker, another player I did not think was going to be there, a starting caliber safety, strong safety, whose makeup is incredible, tough. Really everything that you've heard myself and Matt talk about over the last few months, he has that in him. And I think he's going to make our secondary better as well. And the cool thing about him, one of those attributes you look for in players is, can you make big plays in big moments? And he showed that over and over in his career. So we're excited about him. I was looking through our scout stuff, and one of the guys used the term Super Bowl over accolade type. So he's all about team. He wants to win, and he wants to be on a championship caliber team, which, again, that's what we're doing. And then to finish up the night with Velus Jones, always looking for those guys that are explosive and they're playmakers, and they can help in many different areas. And that's what this kid is. And when you get a chance to meet him, you'll understand that he's different. He's special. There's something about him. So I would love your feedback after, whenever he comes in, I think probably Thursday. The guy there's just an aura about him. And not only can he help our offense, he can help in many different ways. Almost, I'm not going to compare him to Debo, but he has that flexibility where you can put him anywhere, backfield, slot, outside, and then he's a returner, he's a gunner. There's so many different things that he can do. And then always adding that element of speed is important, because as a defense, you have to figure, where is he? You have to find out where he is, and then all of a sudden that opens up other things for other people. So he's going to be a good player. Our coaches are excited, and that's the other thing too, we were aligned everywhere. The coaches like these guys, the scouts like these guys, and then we had the ability to take them. So our whole organization's lined up with these 3 players, and I'm excited.
In all the pre-draft scenarios that you went through, did defense coming up for both second-round picks, was that a scenario that actually played out in your simulations?
Trying to think through them all. Occasionally it did happen, the way that it fell. And it switched every once in a while, which was cool, and that's why we did it. It kind of kept you on your toes.
When Sam Somerville was in here, he said Luke was really excited about adding Velus.
Yeah.
How do you describe kind of what Luke's vision offensively is, and how Velus will fit, and why that excitement is what it is for him tonight?
Yeah, because you can do different things with him. You can put him in different areas, like I mentioned, backfield, slot, run cool plays with him, misdirections, and again, that's a pain for a defense, not only on game day, but to prepare for. You got to take the extra step to understand, who he is, where he's at, what do they run out of this, and then you can kind of tweak it and change it week to week. So he's definitely excited.
We've been talking with you about receivers for 2 months. 13 of them came off the board before you guys took Velus. What was your reaction to sort of the historic 2-round run on receivers and just kind of sitting through that whole thing?
Yeah. So the way we had it, I knew, the first 6 or so, they came off pretty early. And then that's where, as I mentioned before, when you look at the values, that's when other values of players were in different spots on the board. And that's what we went with. And listen, we all, I think someone actually asked that question here. It was like, do you look for the X receiver? You do, but like he has to be in the right spot for the skills and the talent that they have. And sometimes other positions are higher because they're really good at their position. And I just think it would be a huge mistake to say, let's just ignore that really good player over there and let's go over here and take someone just because we need that right now. So I really feel like our whole group and myself, we were disciplined and following the board, and we're excited about it.
Running with Kyler, is he an outside corner? Is he a slot corner?
Again, you want to talk about value and setting your board, he can do both. And that allows you to stay flexible. That allows you to adapt when you have injuries throughout the season. He can play inside, he can play outside, and I know our guys are great, so they're going to have all the corners and they're going to compete, and whatever way it falls, he'll line up where he fits best.
You talk about his body control in part because of his background.
Yeah.
Where do you see that the most, or where does that jump off?
Yeah, hips, change of direction, balance, and body control. If you've ever seen someone with bad, I'm sure if I walked around here long enough, like bad balance and body control, you trip over things. You don't stay centered. You can't stop and start on a dime, and those are the things that you see. Especially there's a clip, they actually showed it on TV. He's in coverage, it's a back shoulder, and he actually opens up, turns, feet stick, they don't move, 2 toes down, grabs it, and has an interception. So some of those things are just not normal, and he probably developed it from that background.
Between now and the end of the offseason program, can you do more to help your offensive line out?
Yeah, I mean, this thing just keeps going. I mean, we have tomorrow, there's going to be opportunities. There's still guys on the street. There's going to be cut-down days. There's trade opportunities. And it's what I told our group and everyone in this organization, we're just going to keep pounding and pounding and pounding, knowing that, like, we can't fix everything in 1 year, but we sure can just keep chipping away and just improve it. If it's that much better, we're going to keep doing that. And then over time, we'll start to collect all of those units and get better as a group.
The other day, you talked about trading down. There were, I think, 4 trades in the 6 picks in front of you this evening.
Yep.
Did that kind of take any partners potentially away from you, or can you?
It was, as you're approaching a pick, you're firing away. You've already done work before, and you're working the phones, and you're just trying to see what actually you can get, depending on if your guy's there or not. The really cool thing is we ended up with 2 players that are really talented, and it would have taken something crazy for me. And at the end of the day, it was nice just getting our guys, and they were at a value that we felt comfortable with. So nothing really made sense to move on from that caliber of player.
Are you okay sitting out till the 5th round tomorrow?
Oh, I wish I didn't have to sit out.
Do you feel like you'll find an opportunity to be able to move into the 4th?
So, as I mentioned before, like for every move, there's a counter. There's repercussions for that. So, to do that, that probably means we have less picks. And, I don't know if we're in that situation to do that. If something crazy happens, we're always going to stay active. But at this moment, I find it hard that we can get back into the 4th.
Did you mind at all last night watching the number 7 pick go by, watching the Giants picking that spot, knowing that that's where you guys would have been slotted and you would have had your pick of so many of the top players at that point?
It'll be cool someday to have, a first-round pick. But when you take into consideration that that's Justin, if you add Justin, Kyler, Jaquan, and Velus, like, we're high-fiving. We high-fived anyways, but, I mean, that's the price that you pay for quarterbacks, and we're stoked, obviously, to have Justin and then adding these pieces. So, and Kansas City, we had that a bunch, too.
As you look at your board and what you guys have kind of projected, how do you feel heading into Saturday and what is still available for you?
I feel really good. The tough thing was sitting out all the 4. You gotta sit there and wait, so I don't know what it's going to look like. But so far, the work that we did has been really, really accurate. The board has fallen, for the most part, the way that we thought it was. There's always, like, surprises. And, I'm not sure how it's going to play, but we'll just react. And, again, just like we did today, is going to be the best player available, and we'll just keep adding good players to this football team.
You called Brisker a big play, big moment guy. Can you think of a couple examples that stand out to you?
Yeah, Wisconsin, I think it was pretty early in the season, if not the first game. Really tight. They're in the red zone, and there was and I think if they score, they win, and he undercuts it, picks it off, game over. And there's another one, too, that happened this year, but he kind of has that thing about him.
Sounds like his visit here was something that was pivotal for him, for you guys. Can you kind of reflect on sort of the presence that he had and what connected with this group?
Yeah, I mean, any time you get the opportunity to spend more time, where like, at the combine, you're on a clock, right? You're in a room, there's, 10, 15 people, there's only so many questions you can ask. And when they come visit and they're with you for the most part of the day, you see them move, you have a meal with them. It's like any relationship, you get to spend a little bit more time. You feel that person, you understand what motivates them, you understand why they do what they do. And for him, it was really good to see that he had something special in him. Really, for Kyler as well.
Ryan, with Velus, is it looking at his body of work and kind of the more you can do, taking him over maybe some receivers that had more proven offensive production in college? Do you feel like you can use him in ways that he wasn't utilized in college offensively in the NFL?
Yeah, so when we get him in, we'll take what he did at Tennessee, obviously try to replicate a lot of that, but then also the developmental stage isn't over either. So a lot of times with this, you take what they can do, and then you, just like I've talked about Justin 1,000 times here, it's like you're going to keep developing him and take him into areas and improving route running, improving different things. Again, someone will say I'm not comparing him to Tyreek, but I just remember that transformation that he was like a returner. You remember someone cracked the joke with the Pro Bowl. It's like, oh, he's just a returner. He went to work and they developed him, and he was a route runner. And then all of a sudden, his hands got better. He worked on the jug, so like his game just expanded. So there's a lot of really cool traits. This guy breaks a lot of tackles. He can take the top off. His run after the catch is outstanding. He's big too. He's 5'11", 205 pounds. This isn't like a skinny fast dude. This is a strong, like violent runner. He used to be a running back too. So there's a lot we can do with him.
How did you reflect on his age?
Yeah, I said this as well, but like it's a good football player. I wish he was 19 years old. Like you can't have everything, but yeah, I mean it's just kind of part of who he is, and we'll just roll with it. And he's been durable, so I feel good about it.
Personally, how do you reflect on making your first pick as a GM? I mean, yesterday obviously was your first day, but this was for real.
Yeah, no, it was a really cool moment. Kind of got choked up, I'm not gonna lie, just because one, it's like that first step. You had a lot of cool text messages and all that, but also impact. Like when you call a kid and say, "Hey, we're gonna bring you to the organization." Obviously, there's a financial part of that too. You understand, and a couple of the guys, like Velus, started crying. You're changing their life, and then you start to just wonder how it's gonna take off. Like how high will they hit their ceiling? I don't know, but it's a cool moment to hire someone like that. It's a really great moment.
What was yesterday like for you? And were you taking calls or making calls throughout the back end of the first round?
To get into the first round?
Yeah. Were you teams calling you?
No. I set everything up here. I was like, I'm gonna be patient, so no one called me. No,
What was
no
it like
action.
from that perspective then?
In Kansas City, we had that a bunch too, so used to it.
In terms of finding players who fit the culture
Mhm.
that you want to build, how do these
Yeah.
three criteria that you set for these guys?
They enhance it. They are passionate about football. They're tough. They're team-oriented. They communicate really well. They're responsible, dependable. All of those things that we've talked about that we look for and we want to just keep adding. So the locker room gets better, the field gets better, the practice habits get better, competition gets better. And I feel like we hit all of those parts with these guys.
Ryan, we hear a lot these days about quarterbacks wanting to be aware of, if not involved in some personnel decisions.
Yeah.
Have you been in touch with Justin at all the last couple of days to keep him up to speed as to what you're trying to do?
Yeah, we actually watched tape together this past weekend, and he was on. Jones was on there too, on the list. So we watched players, and I want to be able to communicate with my quarterback so he understands from me, you know, kind of the direction we're going and what we're looking at, and he should be, you know, he's the trigger man. Like, he's got the ball in his hand. He should be a part of that.
For any of his Ohio State guys?
Yeah, constantly. No, no, he's actually really cool. You know, he just takes it all in.
What's that back and forth like with him, and what kind of input does he give when you guys are together in that regard?
Yeah, Justin's like a really good listener. So he takes it in, and you know, if there's any questions of, you know, why or anything like that, it's easy conversation. He's easy to talk to.
Ryan, a big part of draft picks is, you know, kind of about system fit and how guys fit in a particular system. Obviously, a lot of the work on this draft class was done before not only you got here, but before Coach Eberflus got here and bringing his system in. What's that process like in terms of trying to adjust the board for some of these guys in terms of how they fit into his system, specifically when we talk about these two defensive players that you drafted at the top?
Yeah, so there was an adjustment. Obviously, you know, we didn't take any defensive linemen, but like the front, for example, going from a 34 to a 43, we just had to talk through that, and we had to change some of the values because you may have more value in one system than the other. So that's why that's the importance in this system of scouting, that we all get in a room and we go through that. So one of the exercises we did was we had our staff, once it was built, come in and talk about the players on our team and how they would fit. And when you start to hear them talk about players, you understand who fits the role, who doesn't, you know, and that's that part of communicating and bringing people together that I've always thought was important. Like, that's, you start to learn each other and understand what works and what doesn't.